Hi there, welcome to this build of a 48-inch wingspan Tomboy Senior. We've got to the point now where we've essentially finished all of the construction, and essentially what we need to do is assemble all of the bits that we've got. We've got to get on the tail assembly, we've got to fit that. We've got all the radio gear to put back in and the connections for the control surfaces. We've got the engine to mount again. Now I think before we can do anything, the first thing we need to do is fit the tail assembly. We've got slots in the back of the fuselage and that fits really quite precisely in there. Now it'd be very quick just to put that in and CA it, but it does concern me that we may get it in there and CA it and then find it's just slightly off or not quite square. What I would much prefer to do is to set everything up on the bench nice and square, put some 30-minute epoxy on it and glue it that way, because the 30-minute epoxy won't suddenly glue it. It'll give us time to adjust it and make sure that we've got a precise fitting. And what we want to do is get it nice and parallel with those front wings so that they are parallel to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up on the bench and then get it ready for epoxying, and we'll come back and we'll have a look at how I've set that up. Right, well, I've now got this set up and it's really simple. I've got the wings on, I've taken time to make sure that they are in exactly the right position. Now I've put the tail plane in and the fin, and I've got that so it is exactly parallel with the wings by going to the front and eyeing it up, as you can see from here. Now I've got a couple of clamps here to hold the tail plane into place, and I cannot stress enough how these clamps are very, very lightly holding this tail plane. If I put any pressure, something is going to break. But they're really useful to hold it square and still. So, and to hold it down as well, and so we get good contact with the fuselage. You can see I've got the fuselage, the tail of the fuselage on a piece of wood. I think you can see that just about. And I've got steel blocks holding it square, so there's very little movement. So I'm going to get some epoxy mixed up now and get this tail plane glued into place. Right, well this is set now lovely and I'm really pleased. It's nice and square, and for the record, I didn't sit and watch it. I came back every few minutes and just checked that it was still square until the epoxy had cured. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install the servos into the engine, into the cockpit area. The tray I've actually painted matte black, as I have done the inside of that area. I just thought because you've got windows and you can see in, it would just look better rather than just the bare wood. So I'm going to get that fitted. I've also got the controls, control surfaces to fit. Now I've CA'd the hinges into there, just two fairly thin hinges, and that will just slot in nice and easily, and then I can turn it over to one side and wick the CA in. Right, well I've now got the servos in, and you can see on the tray there, the black tray, and also here there's the switch right at the front there. Now you can see the radio receiver under here. I'm just leaving that at the moment. It's quite a tight fit there, and I don't want to keep putting it in and taking it out. So I'm going to leave that until I've got the CG right and I know what weight I've got to play with. But it will probably go on that plate, but I can always move it back a little bit if necessary. So I'm leaving that as I said. I've set up the control surfaces and they're working nicely, and I've set those up to the specified rates, and I've also got dual rates so I get just a little bit more in case there's not enough. Last thing we want is this flying away, so we can always up the rates a little bit if necessary. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, I've put the battery in the hatch in the bottom, and if we just take out that foam, we can see the battery just slotted in there right up against the firewall, and just a little bit of foam holding it, and we've got this charging lead, so we can just take off the hatch and charge the battery if needed. So I'm going to put the hatch on in a second, and I'm going to now mount the engine and put the wheels on, put the wings on, and work out where we are with the CG, because once we've got the hatch, the wheels and the engine in, we're essentially done. So I need to do that next so I can work out where that radio is going and how we are with the CG, whether we need to start thinking about a little bit of weight somewhere. Well, I'm just fitting the engine now, and we've got the fuel tank. You can just see it there on the back. Now, what I thought I would do is, because these lugs that we used to bolt the engine down onto the beach bearers are quite small, quite flimsy, and I would hate the plane to come down nose first and snap them off. And so I thought I would just give them a little bit more support with these steel washers that I'm just filing down so that they fit over the top of the lugs. I know it can still snap off at the crankcase, and we're not going to prevent that, but at least we can just give it a little bit more support like that. And now I've got this bolted in. If we take a look at the underside, you can see I've put on nylock nuts there, just some black nylock nuts and black washers. I always use nylock nuts when I'm fixing an engine in. I've seen so many people's engines come loose at the airfield because they're not using nylock nuts or any kind of locking system. They've just got a normal nut. So that's quite a good, to my mind anyway, quite a good thing to do. Well, I now have this lovely Tomboy Senior completely finished, and I am so chuffed with it. I am really pleased, not only because I've really enjoyed building it, it's been a great set of plans, great design, but it's a model I haven't built for a long time, this type of model, this kind of sticking up the fuselage, which was great fun. It was really enjoyable. It's literally been years since I've done that type of fuselage. And to make it even more exciting, the CG in this has come in absolutely spot on. And I'll just show you the balance points. I've got a couple of marks just under the wing on the fuselage, and I would say that is absolutely spot on. And there's nothing added to this, nothing that doesn't need to be here. I haven't added any weight to the nose, and it just shows what you can do with good timber selection, because if you saw the videos where we were building the tail, I was really careful to choose good light balsa. And these carbon fibre control rods, they not only work really nicely, really positively, but they're very light as well. So talking about weight, in the build article that comes with the set of plans on the wall behind me, David Boddington talks about his prototypes or his models coming in at 850 grams, and he had to add a little bit of lead to the nose as well. Well, this, and I'm so excited about this, comes in at 730 grams, so a good 120 grams lighter, which should make it a really good flyer, hopefully. And I haven't had to add any weight to the nose, so that's brilliant. All that's left for me to do now is I'm going to take this out into the garden at some point, and I'm going to just run it and just make sure that the fuel tank doesn't leak, the engine starts nice, it's set up, the needle valve and the compression is more or less right, so that when I go off to the airfield, because I'm going to pick a really nice day, a nice calm day, and when I go to the airfield I want to be able to fly straight away. I don't want to have problems with the leaking fuel tank or it not being able to start. I don't want to waste that lovely calm day that I'm going to choose. So anyway, I'm going to draw this video to a close now, and the next video will hopefully be the maiden flight. And I am really excited to see this in the air. And I know I've said I'm really excited a few times, and I am. I've so much enjoyed finishing this off, getting it done and getting it set up. So I hope you've been excited by this build. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting. And please come back and see how we get on in the maiden flight. Thanks very much for watching.